And we're live, talking about what's in the title. So, Wojtek, we were just getting on a roll of, you were just about to talk about INTP is going hyper and why it happens.
Yeah, I mean, when we are getting close to someone on personal level, we INTPs are normally very sober and rather try to distance ourselves. But when we have a rapport with someone, we move to a close-up psychological range, and then we go into our hyper mode. We bombard this persons with our random thoughts that are not well thought out, but are just random ideas we are thinking at the moment about.
Well, I wouldn't say they're not random.
They are not. No. They are not random. They are not like Skrill.
But they are tenuous. They can be tenuous.
Yes. And so we have this because we have this not random but cross-contextual ideas and just throw it out there to see how our conversational partner reacts to them. If he has some ideas that go beyond that, or if he or she has specific information on that.
Yeah, and so first piece of advice for INTPs: 1 degree of tangent turn. Because if you do more than 1 degree of tangent turn, the second tangent might have nothing to do with the original subject.
Yeah.
And then if you go on 4 more times, you will reach Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
Because it's 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah. This is like a fury. When you have tangents over 6 edges, you reach Kevin. Who's that, by the way?
Kevin Bacon is just this American actor who's been in a lot of films.
Okay.
And so the idea is that you can make a lot of connections.
Yeah.
To him.
All the roads lead to him. No, but I understand the analogy. It's and it happens very often. But I mean, when you have another INTP as your conversational partner, it's fun. Like when you see the comment sections of the INTP groups, it is very wild, and oftentimes the topic that was discussed or posted by the OP goes off rails.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that. The problem there is a lot of those groups are full have got ENTPs in them.
Yes, and they are like they can follow one topic for 30 seconds.
There's some good INTP groups I'll recommend, like INTP Scientifically Speaking, and the more serious INTP groups, where it's like they're almost spelling it out in the title, like this is a serious group. Like INTP discussions, I think INTP Scientifically Speaking, there are ones out there that are like more proper INTP groups, not that Charlie Brown group, which is like become ENTP.
It has an influx of F types also recently, but whatever.
But like, so first second rule for everyone: tend to eliminate the word whatever from your vocabulary. Because it comes across as like disdainful. Like if you're having a conversation with someone, say like then you're going hyper and you're like talking to someone, and then suddenly they say whatever. Oh, like a dagger through the heart.
Yeah, but that's a way for me to cut off this random cascading thoughts. Like, I could go on about this, but whatever.
What I tend to do is, people watching this who know me on Facebook, is my problem is, it's both a strength and a weakness, is at any opportunity I'm making a connection to the stuff to an agenda. Oh, Model G. Oh, Austrian School Economics. It's like always making the connection to things that I'm personally interested in. So you can come across as a bit self-serving, but those are the connections that I see. So yeah, I mean, and I will say that the MBTI groups are a lot more accepting of Model G than the Socionica groups.
Yeah, but they probably also don't know a lot about socionics either.
Oh, and I found that I think I might have found you with, although I think you studied socionics before. There's some people who've not heard socionics before in the INTP groups. It's just that because they're like high level INTPs, they can understand the model quickly. So yeah, I mean, like, and so I'm liking the group that we have, the Victor Galenko's Model G group. High quality, some good brains in there.
Yeah.
And quite a few of them are outside of socionics.
Socionics is regarded somewhat skeptical in the INTP groups. I post a lot. I don't know where this comes from. Maybe I heard a lot of criticism of the visual typing thing.
Yeah.
Maybe that's one reason. And also,
yeah, just to interrupt on that, on the visual, one thing that you can look at, and it's not really relevant to type, but if you look at, do you know what the Klitschko brothers look like? The boxers.
What are we doing right now? Random.
No, this is relevant. This is relevant. Okay. This is because you mentioned visual.
It's always relevant. Yeah,
it is relevant. But the tower skull. Anytime you're out and you see a man with a tower skull, he is nearly always going to have broad shoulders. I just noticed this really well. So if you look at the Klitschko brothers, and it has nothing to do with intelligence, because when you look at the tower skull, you think, oh, they've got a small brain. But like the Klitschko brothers have got like doctorates in, you know, they're educated people. So when you see a tower skull, you might think, oh, their brain's a bit small. But no, they can think normally and in an advanced way. And I'll show people what the tower skull looks like. And usually they have, and it is a feature of enhanced testosterone. Now this is from Kretschmer's book in 1925. Here's a good example. Get the webcam out. See, the heads are flat at the back, and they go up, and so they call that the tower skull. Okay. And I saw when I went in the city centre about a week and a half ago, I noticed. Well, I went last week as well, but when I was in a shopping centre, but I noticed the 3 people, and they all had broad, muscular shoulders. Well, not even just muscular, but like just wide bones across the shoulders. And it's like you notice these patterns in people's. It's not related to character though. It's just that if someone has this particular shape, then they have other parts of the body, you know, that are related to it. So what I'm saying is, heads like this tend to have broad shoulders in terms of the bones. And I mean, so for instance, another way of putting it is people have and this guy, we call that asthenic, but thin. But anyway, so this book, so very scientific. In fact, you could read the original Wojtek because it's in German.
Oh,
Physique
right,
and
yeah.
character, but Kretschmer.
I never read about Kretschmer much, but because you mentioned it so often, I looked it up in the reference section of Kurosawa's Please Understand Me Too, and
Yeah.
I got interested because this I think there probably are correlations between visual types and personality types. I mean, there is not a one-to-one translation. Everyone that has a big head is an NT or something like this. But I mean, you see it.
Yeah.
But in sometimes like NFs, there is this game out. Maybe we can link it or something where you have to visual type pictures of people, and you get a score at the end. This game has
Yeah.
two major problems. One, the pictures are often not so good, and people can make themselves look at pictures as they want.
Yeah.
And you never know how they got their typing. Some of the people are like in their teens, so you never know. But for some types, NFs, I think they are very easily to spot out for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, whenever people say visual typer, visual identification, I'm not actually sure what they mean. Do they mean the shape of the face? Right, because I think some Russians, right, that's a bit dodgy. But if we're looking at body language, the way people walk, the clothes that they wear, those are big clues.
Yeah.
Those are big clues because ESTPs, young ESTPs, will walk in a certain way. And there is a small chance that they're going to be an INFP. Certain types can be ruled out as soon as you see the way someone acts, the way they carry themselves, because you can see extroverted sensor. You can see it.
When they
Just like
arms like this to make themselves broader, you mean?
No, it's just the way they walk. It's the way they walk.
Yeah.
You just notice it. You can notice the temperaments. Some people just so. It's not everyone. It's just certain people. It's just like boom. It hits you in between the eyes. That's an SP. That's an NF.
Can you give some clues on SP body behavior? Like, what are the main clues that you would?
It's going to be in. It's the way they walk. They walk with a swagger. They walk with. It's like it's almost the ones that look like they could be a criminal or a juvenile delinquent. To be honest, they walk in a certain way.
Ready to fight.
Yeah, it's hard to define. It's like if somebody asks what is good acting, what is bad acting. Right? When you get older, you can see these things. You can see, and ESTPs as well, they are the number one, and Kersey noticed it, they are the number one type at looking at body language. And they're the ones that will look at other people and they will judge how hard someone is, how tough someone is by the way they carry themselves.
Yeah. They are good at spotting weakness and strength on a power basis.
What happened to me is I once went into a club and the bouncer like searched the other guy. And he looked at me, didn't bother to search me, and afterwards I thought that's an insult. he saw my SE was about
I can be dangerous.
No, I felt quite emasculated.
An INTJ talked about to me about this, and he said people with SE always have knack for how did he say it? Measure up someone if he is going to be a challenge on a really physical fight level, and he says that INTPs always INFPs and INTPs are easily to spot for them because they always look like he could beat them up in a minute.
Let me tell you how I mean, I did martial arts, but only at a low level. But even if I like got to black belt, I would think like this. I would think, okay, if I beat this guy up, what then happens?
Yes.
Does the guy contact the police?
Mm.
Oh, that's a bad thing. You could end up in trouble. Does the guy come back with his mates, with his friends?
Exactly.
So, and they beat you up. So that's another thing. Does the guy come back with a weapon? And then, so it's like.
And even if you have done material arts, and by the way, I have done material arts too, and I think a lot of INTPs have. It's maybe just some sort of compensation. How probable are you to win or not to get hurt? Like, what do I get out of a physical fight? I might get hurt for life, like my face gets disfigured.
Oh yes.
My head gets hurt and I will have some mental disabilities or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's it. So what I'm saying is before, it's like, even if you win with not a blow on you, all of those bad things could happen.
Yeah.
So it's really about like self-defense and trying to get out of those situations.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a reason why SPs die early. Because they get into fights.
Some SDP is watching this vid and is thinking, what a bunch of pussies.
Yeah, I'm thinking if STPs are watching this, then whoa, intelligent subtype. But yeah, I mean, the hyper thing. But yeah, the visual identification. If people want to look a bit into this, into the body types, Dario did it at, I think he called it biotypes.net. And I got, based on many, I got diagnosed as a gonad testosterone body type based on, I'll tell you what they used. They used the ratio between my wrist and my forearm, because I got a little bit of Popeye, but like, this bit's bigger than this bit. And I went bald very early, quite deep voice, hairy legs, but it is not noticeable because it's like blonde. So these things will come up with the gonad, so testosterone type in the males, and the females estrogen. And so he has all of these different hormones. So I think his mother was an anthropologist, and then he studied anthropology. So he looked at the hormonal effect on body shape, and that's what Kretschmer looked at as well. Now in this, Kretschmer does say that amongst normal people there is no relationship between body type and character, but there is amongst psychiatric people.
Yeah.
Because those psychiatric people became that way because of hormonal imbalance. Because all of his patients, right? In his day, they knew hormones, they knew there were chemicals in the blood, but they didn't know them in specifics. But they knew that, and it's obvious that Kretschmer's an INTP. Like he even makes the connection to everything.
When did he wrote this book? When was this?
1925.
Oh, okay. No, then they didn't know a lot about hormonal system back then.
No, but they knew all the glands.
Yeah.
All the glands involved, and like glandular conditions, like so certain women that would go mental after puberty, and hormonal imbalances. But like this shows that he might well be an INTP when I read this out, because he makes the connection between this and the rest of all of human knowledge. So if we go, so for instance, we go, our task is concluded. If at many points we have only been able to give glimpses and suppositions and not satisfactory conclusions, it is due to the size of the problem, which presses on indefinitely into the depths of biology and psychological science. Here and there, when the material was not sufficient for ultimate proof, we had to sketch in suggestions between the facts of which we're certain. That's well written, that, isn't it? Sketching suggestions.
Yes. Yes.
We did not do this in order to arrive at a premature conclusion, but to get cooperation, to offer a starting point for possible trains of thought and investigations in the various sciences involved. Through such sympathetic correction and cooperation on the part of technical investigators, many new points of view may be obtained, not only for medical and anthropological purposes, but in particular for general psychology and for answering of certain aesthetic, literary, and historical questions, so connected to everything. If we are successful in the application of this scientific and more specifically biological mode of thought to the provinces of the psychic life, which were hitherto foreign to it, and if, on the other hand, it is here made possible for clinicists and biologists to get a broad view over the questions of psychology from a well-grounded point of vantage, so that they can see problems which must hitherto have appeared too subjective, vague, and misty, then along these lines we shall have helped in the advance towards the firm synthetic articulation of the entire field of modern thought.
Yeah,
so it might have been the INTP.
Yeah, he might be.
It's just like just his one thing, like character, and it makes the connection to everything.
Yeah, but it's this explosion of interconnectedness, like
Yes.
cascading process of connections, and that's so typical. And so let's get back to this main point we were trying to do in this video.
So the main point is so INTPs think like this. They see someone on Facebook who thinks similarly, and the problem is they can go, oh, at last, boom, 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 and even the person that they appreciate it can be like, whoa. Whoa! Whoa! That's too much.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by the hyper thing, is that you find a connection with somebody who has all of these similar interests, and it can just be like too much, because now in real life you got so much. This is why I always say to people, I prefer Hangouts and Skype to text, because it's just so important, the visual feedback and the tone of voice, and when you're sending messages on Facebook, we INTPs we use the TI instead of the FI. And Victor writes in the profile is that over time we learn to debug relationships. So as the INTP gets, just as they age, get over 30, they have a role function FI, and they tend to develop rules for themselves of social interaction that they can stick to quite strictly. So they can come across as overly polite. Just like stick to these rules.
By the way, this role function, FI for us, I think it's like we are simulating FI. We are simulating the outward signs of FI. I was like that 5-10 years ago, where I had this principles. And but I didn't really feel them, because I think FI people really feel these values very deeply. I have an INFP brother, so I have a direct comparison in between this. And I found it liberating to know about psionics and the FI role function, and I basically gave up on FI, and I concentrate on FE more when it comes to socializing. because I know I can't get really good on FI, and if I will use it, it's not for me.
How do you think FI works in socializing?
Yes, when you have other FI valuing types, and they tend to repeat things they value, their values. They talk about this, and if you cross that value, they get very butthurt. I think the butthurt test is a good test for FI, and they are not very vocal about being hurt, but you notice it.
Unless they're ISFPs.
Yeah. But you notice it. It's like you have done something to them that is terrible and disgusting, and they back away from you.
I'm a bit like that as well, because people have heard in me in Hangouts a running theme is I will complain about ENTPs. Quite a lot I complain about ENTPs, and something Maria has said is that as the INTP gets older, they tend to romanticize the role function, because it's like it's the thing that they are concentrating on the most as an improver, is the role function, because it's part of their overall Jungian Galenko temperament of the introverted judging, where we are judging everything, and we are, first of all, we are trying to use logic. We are, so in terms of social appropriateness, we are thinking, what is this person's life like at the moment? How busy are they? Is this the right time to approach them? And if we don't have that information, we are going on gut feeling or past experience. And if we are, then we have to check any enthusiasm, as I call it. Instead, not, I don't call it over enthusiastic. I call it over any enthusiastic. So where, like, I once posted on Jay McKee's wall. I just went over any enthusiasm, and you put, dude, you post way too much.
Yeah, I mean, I think all INTPs learned at some point in their life to. I will use still the term enthusiasm to boil down their enthusiasm, because they know when they are like this, people react negatively. Most people will react negatively because you are too much. You're bombarding people with all these things. And
are you talking about online or in real life?
Both. Okay, I mean, online is a new thing, so, and there are other rules online than there are in real life. Like our enthusiasm, our NE enthusiasm is valued by some other types. Like in real life, when we are very passionate about the things we like that interest us, and we talk about this in this way, then sometimes appreciate that. But I think because we have the, as you said, the visual connection to back it up, because on online on chat messages it just sounds like random babbling.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
So in real life, we can judge psychological distance. We can see how interested the other person is.
Right. Yeah.
But and so, like I said, we're trying to use TI to judge psychological distance. So it's like we'll find out how busy someone is, right, and then how they respond in that context. So it's almost like we need the context for their person's responses, because it might just be that they're busy. Because we imagine because when we imagine the other person, we imagine that they're sat at a computer, and we only imagine what we know, right? So we think they're not doing anything else, just because we don't know about it.
Yeah,
we have
sure.
to assume that they are doing something that we don't know about.
I mean,
They're busy with that.
People have jobs, private lives, and everything else. So or they are not in the mood, because online you have also to take into account time zone differences. So
we do that.
Yeah,
Easy.
so,
we do that. INTPs can do that, and we can do that. We can show off about that. We look at we will have a clock to make it easier for us.
Okay.
Because because it's easier with the face, with clocks and hands. We can do -8 hours, 5, 6, 7 plus. We can do all that. We get used to that. What kills us though, what is annoying, is when the Americans don't do their daylight saving time at the same time as us. It's like a week or two off, and we have to take that into account. That can be annoying.
Yeah, I mean, most of the typology community is in the US. So I don't know. So for Socionics, it's probably more centered about on Europe and Russia. But for the MBTI, it's US mostly.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm also not very approachable in the mornings. Like when someone wants to know something, asking me questions, like my girlfriends weren't like that. I was lucky with that. But like in the morning, I can't handle interhuman communication. I have to get my coffee, and I heard there's like a theory about times of days and how you use your functions, like that in the morning you use your dominant one. Where is this coming from? It's just something I remember now.
I can tell with me that I become a different person when I'm tired.
Yes.
Ooh.
I become more FE, I think, when I'm tired. I become more easygoing.
It's with us. It's called we have a super ego shift, so we become like ISFPs. So it's like we are. What I get is I get more sensitive to sound. It's like someone has turned up the sensitivity on my ears, like the sensitivity on the microphone, and I become more aware of my environment. It's almost as if what I think has happened is the NE is tired because the NE state, transcontextual, is very energy intensive. So we've got a bit more SE. So it's like a lower brain activity. And so we're more in the environment. So we're like more sensitive to the environment. That's one thing. And then also, Dario talked about INTPs have the green shield, where the TI represses the emotions. So I think when we get tired, I get more irritable, and I'm more aware of my environment. Now, on the opposite side, Jeff has taught, and I've seen Jeff in Hangouts, where when he gets tired, he goes at NE. He goes absurd. He becomes like an ENFP. It's like that dominant function becomes. I don't know what you're like when you get tired, whether you become.
I definitely become less NE. Yeah, I don't do all this random thought thing. I have to think about that. People I get along with. What's changing? That is something what I know. When I'm tired, I have more friendly face features, because in my TI mode, I I come across very cold or even angry. It's something similar to the resting bitch face. Because I basically turn off the control over my facial features. So and I notice this. I really have to pay attention to this when I'm walking somewhere in the public, and I'm up in my thoughts somewhere, and I notice how people react strangely to me, like ooh. So put a smile on that face.
My other, I would have advice to INTPs is don't try to be clever, try to be witty, because the cleverness will just come out anyway. because if you concentrate on being clever, because like the self-image of INTP is, then it will go too far. It becomes self-consciously intellectual, whereas if the INTP concentrates on being witty, then the intellectualness will just come out naturally anyway. So it's still going to be, the self-image is still going to come through.
Do you think that STPs are trying to come across as clever?
STPs?
Yeah.
No. Not at all. For instance, my father's, I don't know what it is now, because when people age, it can go down. But in the 1990s, he had an IQ of 150, and that was when people like could get into Mensa, they had to have an IQ of 150. But no interest whatsoever in anything abstract. And so, if you have no interest in anything abstract, there are not going to be many opportunities to show your intelligence for an ESTP. And they will accept, like, if you see them playing cards or playing a computer game that involves tactics, or you see them on sport, they're like situational awareness, but because they're not abstract. They're not. Whereas when someone is abstract, they're talking about intellectual things, because intellectual things tend to be abstract. Now, of course, you can, learning about NLP is you can see abstract people making a lot of errors. Right, where a sensing person, someone like, Jeff and actually his son, very good at pointing out errors in ends, as they call them, as intuitive. So, for instance, and I'm guilty of it a lot, overgeneralizing, distortions, leaving things out. And you can use that to sort of judge the intelligence of an intuitive type, or rather how intellectually lazy they are, by the little mistakes they make.
You mentioned that in an earlier hangout. I don't think so. I think it's more the general S versus N difference. S's, sensory types, or let's take Kersey. Concrete types are picky about details. They and abstract types, we don't really care about the details because we are more interested in the meta structure, in the meta patterns of the things. So when someone says something that I notice is wrong, I just go, yeah, whatever. I know what you mean. And I think a lot of intuitive communication, when you have only intuitives that you talk with, is like that. All people in this group are then, yeah, I know what you mean. It's SPs would rather pick out. No, wait a moment. It was 1978. It was 1977, or stuff like this, because the details are more important for them. The facts are important for them. Factual information.
Also, though, people have noticed it in Hangouts with Jeff is we INTPs can, based on a small amount of information, extrapolate something and come up with a theory on the spot, like an insight. And Jeff is very good at pointing out where I've overgeneralized or where I've made an actual error in the abstraction. So I actually think I think intelligent sensing types, if they're coming up against an average intuiting type, they will go, oh, but what about this? What about this? So they'll use it negatively. So they will use logic because they're not interested in creating theories, but they can knock down other people's theories. And they'll say, oh, but what about this? What about this? This?
Yeah, but I mean, generally for TI users, it's very easy to spot errors. Like I think Darinati speaks about it a lot. We are the INTPs are one of the, I think, the best in spotting categorical errors when something is not an idea is not put in the right category, or if there are formal errors
or plot holes.
Or plot holes.
Like when you're 13 years old watching Star Trek, and you can see that's a plot hole, and you can see how the story is going to end.
Yes, because the authors were rather putting wanting to get across some moral message rather than being consistent with the structure.
And oh god, the philosophy in Star Trek is like, oh my god, it is like so dumbed down. It must be a nightmare for people who have actually studied philosophy when they actually have them philosophizing in Star Trek. I was like, oh god. And they'll say that's what being human is all about.
Yeah, I always thought, why is Data trying to be human? He is like a super intelligent machine. Why would he want to be human?
I'm like, why isn't he better looking? And then they'll do things. Oh, it made him look like the creator. They've got to have these little reasons in there. And it's like, and I'm like, why is he so expressive? I mean, like people talking about at the time, people are like F.E. Poe and F.I. Poe. Oh, he's got a wonderfully subtle performance. No, it's not. If you watch it, it's like so expressive.
Yes. He's. But I think the actor made a good line between projecting not non-expressive way, but actually you can read his emotions, which he does not have. But Data is always talking in this. But Captain, isn't it strange that blah 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 in this kind of voice that I'm better at impressions.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good performance, but I'm not sure it's the right performance for. But the problem is that he gets away with it because the actor's good.
Yeah.
So it's like this is not quite appropriate, but he's getting away with it. And I would remember thinking at the time, why was Star Trek: The Next Generation much more popular than Voyager and Deep Space?
By the way,
and when you watch it now,
one note. Sorry, conversation started out with some topic, and we ended up in Star Trek.
but the reason, but this relevance to the function.
There's a reason for it. There's always a reason for it.
The reason is that if people ask the question, why was Next Generation much more popular than Star Trek Deep Space Nine or Voyager? And Voyager even had Jay Ryan in it, in her Borg catsuit. But like, if we're comparing Star Trek Next Generation and Deep Space Nine, the reason why Next Generation is more popular is the acting is a lot better in Next Generation. A lot better.
But the story arcs are better in Deep Space Nine. There, first of all, there are story arcs and character arcs that I liked. Really, I mean,
Yeah, they ripped it off from Babylon 5. I mean,
yeah.
there was anyway. We'll go into that in future, but there was a lot of politics going on with the fact that Babylon 5 was about to be made at the same time, and J. Michael Straczynski regretted the fact that he said, and he actually gave out the deadline. You know, he said that when Babylon 5 was going to start, and the problem is then Paramount pumped more money into Deep Space Nine, so that Deep Space Nine came out a few weeks before Babylon 5, and Babylon 5 is way better than Deep Space Nine.
Yes, no question there. That it was Babylon 5 was a masterpiece of story arc.
Oh yes.
And, the producer was really working on that.
Genius.
He also had a bailout for every character. If the actor should quit, he made a plan B on how he would resolve it.
J. Michael Straczynski, and at the time, Babylon 5 almost got cancelled every year, and it had very low ratings. And then what happened was, when the DVDs came out, they sold tons, and he got respect. And then, if you look at J. Michael Straczynski now on IMDb, he has written so many films in the last 10 years. It is amazing. And it's like, if you just look for next year, he'll have like 3 films coming out. He just worked so much, and he's like, now he's got the respect, he's just like pumping them out. So much stuff. And whilst he was doing that, he even had his own line of comics called Joe's Comics. Just so prolific. And he's the writer I admire most. I think he's the best living writer.
I saw an interview with him when he talked about the making of Superman. Did you saw that?
No, the original or one of the new ones?
One of the new ones, and he was taken in as an advisor, and he was making a humoristic bit from that, and he was taken in as an advisor, and he took a look at the story draft that they did, and he said to the guy, well, this is not really Kal-El. And and the producer asked him, who? So he explained to them how a Superman movie really should be done, and
the Kryptonian movie that I want to see done would be this one, based on Power Girl. But who would play her?
My INTJ X looks a lot like Power Girl. Yeah.
I bet you were unhappy when she did become your ex.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
Okay. Right. She must have been really FE polar for her to
No, she was INTJ. So I mean, we had basically all the good and bad side of INTJ INTP relations. I mean, you can be open with an INTJ about anything, and that's a very good thing. Like you don't have to walk on shells. And to get back on tips for INTPs, how to act. I mean, we easily hurt other people's feelings, especially in a relationship, because we say what we think in the moment. When and it's not even really a thing that we feel. We say something, and if the person is very sensitive, we can easily hurt them. With INTJs, they can handle it. They hear out what you have to say, they think about it, and give you their opinion. And that is great. That is great for a relationship for an INTP to have. To not be self-censoring all the time, because I think this is not something that should be in a relationship. That you have to censor a big part of yourself to get along. That's why probably, I don't know, INFP, INTP relationships are problematic, because you will always hurt the INFP's FI with what you have to say. You connect well with the NE and can just throw out ideas, and they are very good at the intelligent ones are very good at communicating at this abstract level. But we are taking the TI route, that is emotionally detached, and they are taking the FI route, that is very emotionally attached.
With me, it's like I can do the FI thing until I get tired. And then it's like, but then I'm also an Enneagram 4, so I can relate to the motivations of the FI DOMs.
4, which one was it? The helper?
No. 4 is the creative type, the individualist, the romantic.
Yeah.
A lot of INFPs are Enneagram 4s. This book, I recommend this book to people. The 16 Personality Types by Linda Behrens and Dario Nardi. The reason why is they interviewed people of that type, many people, and they wrote down the language that they use, and they sort of like got the common theme. So if you want to know, so say if you want to write a particular type, it's got the kind of words and the kind of language they use.
Oh, that's good.
Because it's like got the self-portrait from real conversations with INTPs. And what I think about these portraits is that the top 2 functions are very well described. And what I'm going to do is, because I've now got Victor's ISTP profile, but I've not translated it yet. And I need help with Alina for translating it. Because I did a hangout with her, where a private hangout, no one's going to see it, where she read through the profile and told me what was in it, and then I can combine that with when I compare it to the Google. So, folks, if people want to know, Wojtek's not on crack; he's on a Viper.
It's a easy girl.
Easy girl. So the reason I opened this up was it talks about INTPs and relationships, but the first thing it says that relates to me, for being such basically solitary people, they have a surprising ability to network people with people, usually around expertise. They know who knows what and how well.
INFPs?
No, INTPs.
Really?
Yeah. So, for instance, when I... Right, there we go. I didn't just make it up. They have a surprising ability to network people with people. And so that is part of the reason. Part of the other one is look. While I've been able to organize these hangouts, is, and this is where the NE comes in, where I can connect to that. That thing that they talked about. I can connect to that and see the relevance, or when I'm at hangouts and I can see, this person's got expertise in this area, they would go well with this other person. And also, I'm very picky as well.
So you have a map of expertise clusters you are interconnecting.
It's just a gut feeling. This person would go well with this person, or to talk about this particular thing. Is I can connect it. And like I said, if you discipline the NE, where it's like, I can connect what they've talked about to this other thing that they would be interested in, rather than to something that I want to talk about, then that's where you can use any. So, for instance, if you know somebody wants a certain thing, what they're motivated, and this is where type and Enneagram can help, is if you know what someone's motivated by, and you can make a connection, and say, oh, this thing, then you can use that to persuade people.
What's the motivation? What's the basic motivation for INTPs in communicating with people? What are we trying to get out of it?
INTP is just basically, a lot of them, they're just trying to find people who understand what the heck they're thinking about and they want to share ideas. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Because most people don't understand INTPs, and they go through their life in a mode where they have to keep all these abstractions up their sleeve, so that people don't look at them like this.
or even congratulate you on that, but do not really understand it. Like, oh, you have a lot of interesting thoughts, but yeah, I can do anything with pleasant remarks.
I'll read this bit out about relationships. I'm not going to read the whole thing because I still want people to buy the book. She called them designer theorizers, and very cleverly, in my opinion, she has trademarked every single name. So people like Helen Fisher don't just nick terms and put it in their book. If Kersey had done it, then she wouldn't have been able to steal his terms without permission. For designer theorizers, relationships are a lot about expertise. They enjoy having a joint area of interest and expertise to share. Linda Bounds is also INTP. They often seek out relationships to have different thoughts and experiences. Disruption that comes with conflict and strong emotion keeps them from thinking clearly, so they avoid confrontation unless it is necessary. Frequently, they may find themselves lacking the interpersonal skills they need, and relationships can become competitive. Their penchant for precisely defining words, clarifying ideas, and pointing out inconsistencies can be wearing at times. Even if it is in the best interest of the other person, the group, or the project, a calm, conflict-free environment is preferred, and consultative relationships are preferred over hierarchical ones. In their close relationships, they need autonomy, with the perspective that nobody has the right to let them do or do not do anything. The notion that there is a role that they are supposed to serve can be a surprise and a shock, and the relationship can feel like bondage if too many traditional roles are imposed. Traditional roles can interfere with their intellectual needs. So she's probably talking here as a female INTP.
By the way, what do you think is the ideal romantic partner for an INTP? I would say one would have to differentiate between males and females here, but
it depends on the economic situation of, if you've got an INTP with another intuiting type and they have enough money, they can pay somebody to do all the housework. If they can't afford somebody to do all the housework stuff and they want a division of labor, then it would be a good combination with an SFJ. Now, in the past, a double income household where both the man and the wife were working, they could afford a maid. These days in America, they can't afford a maid. And the only one, and not a legal one anyway. Now in California, they'll use illegal immigrants and they do. And if it wasn't for them, if it wasn't for the illegal immigrants, there would be a big problem in California looking after children.
So yeah, that I mean, the socionics interrelation theory, the whole model. SFJs as our duals and semi-duals, not as a romantic partner, but like someone
It's
that's
marriage.
yeah, exactly.
It's
Yeah,
division of labour.
yeah.
That's what it is.
Keep my house tidy and make a good working atmosphere in my house, a living atmosphere, and that's it. But not as a romantic partner. I mean, okay, I do not appreciate my cleaning. I mean, I appreciate what a cleaning woman does, but for a romantic partner, I think INTPs have. I think Arthur Grant is talking about the mind mate, that INTPs need a mind mate, and I think this is true. Yeah,
that is the term that Kersey should have trademarked, and then Helen Fisher couldn't have stolen it. Because Linda Behrens would have trademarked mind mate, soulmate, playmate, workmate.
Yeah,
she would have trademarked them all.
So and mind mates. So it has to be an intuitive, I think. Generally,
well, yes. What you Socionics tends to assume that SFJs have a miniature INT, have like a miniature NTP inside of, and there are some of them out there where you've got these like smart ESFJs, and they have got this like INTP side to them. I mean, even someone like Sarah Palin has a little bit of an INTP side in her because she really likes Thomas Sowell, and Thomas Sowell likes her. People should check out Thomas Sowell. But most ESFJs have not got a miniature INTP in them. So, for instance, if people see Hangouts, Elena's got a little INTP inside of her. I mean, she's stated this publicly. She rather surprised Jack Aaron when she said that she has degrees in economics, psychology, and linguistics. So, but most ESFJs are not going to be closet intellectuals because they've not got the time.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the basic thing.
I mean, that's the thing about preference, right? A very intelligent people, independent of type, will have a lot of interests anyway. So they might also inform themselves, get some new skills, and develop themselves and educate themselves. But
having said that, a lot of ESFJs are medical doctors.
Where they can, help people, where they can take care of people.
And they've got that SI memory. And it's like where they can learn. With that SI, they can learn good students.
I'm definitely SI valuing. That's another thing I like about socionics. Definitely, I admire knowledge. Very notable guys, because, for example, I do not remember facts very well. And I have to look things up. When I'm writing an article, I know where I have to look it up, so I can fill in the blanks very fast. But like out of the, I can't pull them out very well out of my sleeves. And people who can remember facts very well and have a very broad, detailed knowledge, I admire them.
Right, and advice for INTPs I would give is don't act like an ENTP. Don't act like an ENTP. And INTPs know what I'm saying here is the ENTPs, and it's like the INTP. Oh my god, I can't believe they said that. That is the advantage that INTPs have. Is they have that little voice inside that they know where the line is more. They're a bit of a gut feeling. So, in my opinion, an outgoing INTP has better social skills than an ENTP.
ENTP are good at courting, though. They are master seductors. Because they're because male ones, because they are funny, and that's always a good trait, and they really don't care about boundaries, like is it appropriate to go in the situation and talk to a girl, to a woman. I think they have less less
Well, I think in that situation they're more likely to be ENFPs because ENTPs, so most types, like as SP, they're just going to come across as weird. I mean, if you think it's going to be a...
You can't get anything positive out of ENTP.
It's this, because I mean, if it's most comedians are ENTPs, most ENTPs are not comedians. They think they are.
Jon Stewart, ENTP or ENFP?
I don't know. You see, the thing is here is people would think, but he's Jewish, and Jewish humor is NE. Yes. So his humor can be a function of his culture rather than of his type.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But I tell you who is ENTP, Bill Maher, because he says FI polar things.
Yes.
He's very FI polar.
Yeah. That okay, I can see that, yeah. I mean he really doesn't care about what religion does, what emotional meaning religion has to people. And yeah.
It doesn't care full stop. It doesn't care full stop. It's an unhealthy ENTP.
But I think to get back to our main theme, I think ENTPs don't need a lot of advice about socializing. I think we are quite good at this naturally, because most of the time we are reserved and we try to be polite. We are not like ENTPs who just are wackos who go out there and bother people.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's what I mean about toning down the NE, is to use the nuance in the NE where it's using it to connect to things that you think the other person will be interested in, rather than having a shift where, like Maria said in Hangouts, I can appear as an ENFP. The ENFP is the champion, and maybe what you can get is sometimes where an INTP might become a champion, and they start talking about things that they personally are interested in order to champion that cause. So, for instance, I could, sometimes in Hangouts, I will verge onto Austrian school economics and Peter Schiff, and then realize, whoa, the audience is not interested in this. Maybe it's the other person. Let's get back on topic.
Yeah, but that's exactly the case. You would be subtle about it. Like you would steer the conversation in the direction with some steps in between.
Yeah, but then I feel bad though, because I can tell that the other person isn't, and that's where the FI thing is, where you naturally feel it. Oh, I'm going into an area.
Yeah,
I can tell they're not. And I do, in some of the videos I do with Hannah, sometimes I do that, and then I try and get back, and I feel bad for doing it because I know deep down that I'm doing it in order to be self-indulgent. I'm using NE self-indulgently to talk about something I'm interested in, to like just to like champion it, to like promote it, rather than thinking of the other person and thinking about what they would be interested in.
From a personal development perspective, I developed in the other direction to actually steer conversations to topics I am interested in, because my old self was like sitting there taking in all the conversations that are going on, be quiet and be bored. And so I developed more in a direction where I actually get active in conversations in those situations to give the topic I would like to talk about, or I would like to hear people talk about.
Well, if you can present it in an entertaining way, in a clear way, then you can see how they react to that. And of course, it depends. So my Facebook, so I can finish with my Facebook recommendation for interacting on Facebook is sending people messages. Is first of all, engage the person publicly, or rather, for instance, you don't know how busy someone is when you're messaging them, but this is what this. So if you want to message someone, folks, this is my advice. When they post something on their Facebook wall, they are in a social feedback mode. They want comments. And so obviously when someone posts something on their Facebook wall, they are free for like say that next half an hour. You know they want feedback. You know they are receptive, right? Then you post comments on the thing, because you know they want comments because they posted the thing on their wall. And then if they are receptive to your comments, right, then you know they're receptive to you. And then if you've like messaged them before, you can remind them and say, oh, I sent you a message, because you know then that they have the time and they are receptive to you in that moment and in a good mood. So that's the advice.
Yeah, and I mean, especially for public personalities, when you talk to them publicly, then it's not just them responding to one person, because maybe they are actually interested in answering that question, but they want to reach more people with it, and they want other people to see their response and to act on that.
It's just that if you're interacting with introverted types, especially INFPs and INFJs, and if they are like an Enneagram 4, then you need to know when they're on Facebook is when they're in like a sociable mode and a less sociable mode where they just want to read, right? And they don't want, and like I said, and what will tend to happen there is that type of person will they will have a build-up of messages from lots of different people.
Exactly.
And so they're going to be overwhelmed. And so, like I said, once you see them posting on their Facebook, and the benefit of that is when they have posted something on their Facebook wall, it's like, right, they're interested in this. Boom, INTP can go, right, they might be interested in this. Right, so they can make the connection with someone based. So, that, like I said, they're using like TI to do FI's job. Oh, they're interested in this subject. Oh, I can make this connection. And then, but mainly, if I'm talking about people you already know, then you can say, "Oh, right, this person is receptive at this moment to being communicated with."
And I mean, if you do it publicly, there's also the possibility that someone else will answer this question. And as an INTP, you are interested in an answer anyway, and not a specific person answering it. So, especially in your groups, like there are very knowledgeable people there. you don't have to ask Viktor Gulenko something about
No.
his theory, because there are other people out there who can
Oh yeah.
answer just that as well.
Yeah.
And especially when you have a high grade personality like Viktor Gulenko in this kind of groups, you have, I mean, you have to appreciate it. I mean, some INTPs, especially the ones who are very immature, are all against authority and all against and it's natural for us, as it happens to me too. But you have to respect people and their time. It's really
Yeah.
it's not elitarianism when you say, okay, he took a moment of his precious time to answer here, because yeah, it is a precious moment of the time from someone that is so knowledgeable about that, and he has other stuff to do. So
Yeah, I get a bit. Sometimes I get a bit slack there and message him a bit too much, but but usually just once a day, maybe once every other day. But like, we think so similarly. But anyhow,
yeah, but it's difficult to control sometimes, because we have this TI, maybe NI mode. I don't know what it is. We are thinking tactically and think about this stuff. Okay, this person is that and that, and he is. But when we are in the hunger of information, in the hunger of thoughts, and we just want more, we forget about that.
also,
Like
people have to remember that it takes with Victor. He is a perfectionist when it comes to replying in English. Right, he wants to get, and now his grammar is like perfect, but it's an effort for him, and that's why he won't speak English, or is that he's a perfectionist. And even Olga Tanjman, who is like a massive critic of Victor, said that he writes very well and he writes good profiles.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. You can disagree with a person and still respect them. I mean, that's common, basic.
But this is what she says about his diagnostic techniques. It is shit.
It's a shit. Not very well formulated, but
I know.
yeah, that's
right. So folks, those are some of the and I would say not so much in groups, but it's once somebody posts something on there, once they post it on their own Facebook wall, then they want their friends to comment on it. And if they're an introvert, especially if they're an introvert, they want people to comment, and then they're in that mode of social feedback. That's the thing. And you know they're not busy. Whereas when you just message someone, you don't know. You don't know what the context is. As much. Because as soon as someone posts them on their timeline about a particular subject, you know they want to talk about that subject.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
And I just had a random NE idea here. I will have to ask you about something I did a few months ago about political leanings of types, and I think maybe the Model G group or the typology evolution group would be a good place to do this. But never mind.
I wouldn't say the Model G group, but a different. So you got your group, you got your person. You see, that's one of those things that can really degenerate. That's one of those topics.
Yes, yes, but I mean, I'm not talking about politics, but natural leanings of types for certain political views, and I think there is a pattern there.
It's obvious.
Yeah,
we know what the patterns are.
Yeah.
It's like Jeff and I would talk about this all the while. SJs can go either way. It depends what they. It depends what is conventional So,
Yes.
for instance, Western Europe, we already live in a welfare state.
Yeah.
We already live in a semi-socialist society. So that is what is traditional
Yes.
For the SJs.
Yeah.
Right? It's only your NTs who are your libertarians and going back to the original. Because so if you've got SJs that are in a union household and a part of unions, that's conventional for them. They're not inherently conservative. It's just they're inherently conventional. Whatever is conventional for them, they're going to be.
But there's an overlap between conservatism and conventionalism, I guess.
Yeah, but
yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, but I even think the conservative thing, because I see, because as a libertarian, I see so much left-wing stuff. Just the conventional stuff is it's not like what really happens is when you get Eastern Europe and the Soviet Union, and once you run out of all the money, and then people realize it doesn't work, then you get like in the socionics, like in the Stratoskaya profiles. Like the machine translated, but like wicked long, like 17 pages, like INTP, and then they make jokes about communism and socialism and all that kind of stuff. And whereas, so so for SJs, it is what is conventional and also what is prudent, financially prudent. So they will want a balanced budget. They will want sensible spending.
Yeah, but that's in the conservative spectrum. But as you said, I mean, what is conventional? So in the Soviet Union, you will have a lot of SJ who will be all for communism and for planned economics, central planned economics, and
that's right.
Yeah. Let's not expand on that. Let's cut the video here. Because,
I was just saying. I'll just round up by saying that Rennie Barron calls she calls them security seekers. So, like I said, you can have people who are conservative, but the security of the welfare state will appeal to them. So, for instance, I know people in the Tea Party; they still want Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid. It's just that they want a balanced budget as well because they want to preserve those programs because they are security seekers first and foremost. It's just they want fiscal responsibility from government. It's your INTPs and INTJs who are coming out, and the SDP is coming out and saying no, we want, because your libertarian society. So now your idealists, especially your INFPs tend to be left-wing. That's it. Cut and dried.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. They tend to be left-wing.
Yeah. I would use the political compass and use two scales for political association, like economic left and right, and authoritarian and individualism on the other scale. So two-dimensional.
Yeah, they tend to come together, though. I mean, like in America with the Democrats, there's some social things that they're very open on, and some other social things that they're very, very prescriptive on.
But it makes sense to decouple that. There is some studies done on that there are actually three groups, three scales in economics that cluster together, and but for the two scales, economics and social, it's a very good model because left and right, most of people are in when you have an two-dimensional diagram of so you have four quadrants, and most people are in either completely left, means economically left and socially individual list, that are the left-wing, traditional left-wing people. Then you have in the upper quadrant the typical conservatism, people who are capitalistic and socially authoritative. Then you have this weirdos like libertarians who are very free on the social scale. They are in the lower right quadrant.
Yeah.
But they are very right wing on the economic scale, and I find it's interesting because
That's not weird to me. That's
huh?
that's not weird to me. That makes perfect sense because that's
Yeah,
consistent.
yes. I link this political compass thing. I will probably do a thread about it in the future, maybe in the type evolution group, because there are a lot of different types there, and it seems also to have high standards.
It works generally, but there are like caveats.
Yeah, personal experience will always probably trump natural leanings of a type, and your personal history of what you think is right. That will have at least 50% influence on your political leanings. But I think you can make out basic correlations with that. What I came upon is for these four quadrants of the political compass, you have the TA is right, the upper right quadrant,
Yeah.
economically right and authoritarian. Authoritarian because TE is in Kirsten terms communal. Did he use the word communal? The dichotomy pragmatism and
Yeah. Yes. Cooperative and utilitarian.
cooperative, yeah. So it would be cooperative and TI dominance and
That's
TI
the thing.
service, yeah. And
That's
FE is in the upper left quadrant, authoritarian because of the cooperative part, and but economically left because they want everyone to feel good. So everyone should be treated with respect, the poor and so on. So they are rather for a welfare state.
oh yeah.
And
You get that with the deltas as well, with the delta quadra, where even
one that would be interesting because I did it only with the functions from an MBTI perspective. It would be interesting to see if we can combine that with quadrants. And FI and TI are in the lower half, the right and left quadrant with the individualistic people. FI is left, INFPs and everything, and ISFPs would be even more, I think, left, like anarchistic left, and TI people would be basically the natural leanings would be libertarian.
but the problem is now is we got capitalism in what they call capitalism in the United States and UK, but it's not. It's socialism. So it's in corporatism. It's giving real capitalism a bad name. So people have to actually get a grip in terms. The problem is for libertarians is that going through the logic of it is really hard.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, whatever. I mean, I'm not.
Listen to Peter Schiff. Listen to Peter Schiff about how complex. I've been listening to him since 2009, and I have to concentrate hard to understand what he's talking about.
Economics is hard because they use their own language, and it is over labeled. Like there are a lot of labels that you have to look up to understand what an economics paper is about. But in this political compass view, the communists are in the upper left quadrant, meaning authoritarian and economically left, and libertarians are the opposite of that. So these two views are diagonally opposites. So there will be the most conflict between those two.
This guy, Ludwig von Mises, genius, he wrote about in the 1920s why the Soviet system would fail, and he came up with the economic calculation problem, is that because they didn't have, because everything was centrally planned, there was no price signals to actually work out the demand, and it's the price signals that are light in the nervous system. But yeah, von Mises, there are very, very few equations in this book. There may be one equation in the book because it works on logic, not mathematics.
I would put general principles. I mean, when you have a planned economic, there's too much micromanagement. You can't micromanage everything. You have to have a system that is self-regulating.
But I use the analogy, it's like a director trying to direct 1,000 movies at the same time.
Exactly.
And they're all going to end up being the same.
And
so it's easier.
The consequence of this is a bureaucratic overhead which is prone to corruption. Because you redistribute the wealth, you redistribute everything, and little bureaucrats get to decide on things, and you have to micromanage in every single step. And because the bureaucratic apparatus are slow in reaction, you have what happened in the Soviet Union. I mean,
like in the economic and GOZ plan. Right, I want to just show people what von Mises is like. We're gonna end with a high before I stop it in about 5 minutes.
Okay.
That's how long it will take. So this is what is in von Mises. We have so they've got the philosophical, but the acting man. So this is basically how people make decisions. And praxeology is very much like the tote model, which Victor knows about in Model G. So, and if you want to find out more about this, folks, check out Prax Girl. So what the libertarians did is they got this good-looking woman to present these 5-minute little lectures on praxeology. So if you just type in Prax Girl, all one word, you'll find her. So we've got that stuff there, and then we've got the epistemological problems of the sciences of human. Now, the word human action is used so many times in Personology, David Kersey's final book. Again, this is all about how people make choices, and basically, he thinks that the method of choice is always the same, independent of whatever is valued in the motivations. Category of action, time. Yes, very important, time. That relates to the interest rate. Uncertainty, action within the world, human labor as means. So all based on principles. Human society. All right. Just click on that. Then we got, right, then we got role of ideas, exchange within society, economic calculation, this would be price signals, the barter fiction, right. Yeah, the problem of economic calculation, that'll be in the Soviet system. Sphere of economic calculation, monetary calculation, what we got? Catalytics, or economics of the market society. So science of exchanges, catalytics. Scope and method of catalytics. I don't know what the autistic economy is. Market. Capital goods and capital. Ah, yes, capital goods. Like things that actually, like tools that actually increase productivity. Competition, freedom, inequality of wealth. Who cares? Makes people unequally rich. Bureaucrats, prices. Right, indirect exchange. So it's all logic. So and I love the contents page. There's so much. Oh yeah, David Kersey typed von Mises as an INTJ. Right, so loads of stuff. Action, passenger, interest rates, so important. Interest rate credit expansion. Yeah, this is where you get the business cycle from. There's a credit expansion. I actually did a sheet on praxeology and SI and NI through the lens of praxis. So loads of stuff. Non-human original factors. Oh, no. Data in the market. Harmony. Right, we've got social cooperation without a market. Right. Socialism again, always going on about socialism. Government in the market. Interference by taxation. Restriction of production. It goes on and on and on. So INTPs, I think, would love the logic. Because it is so...
Show the book cover again.
The book cover?
Yeah. Human Action, a Treaty on Economics by Ludwig von Mises.
And what we got here? I'll tell you who's read this book, Dorian Electra. And I made a comment on our Facebook page. Our next video is going to be on rationalism versus empiricism. That's our next video. And she did a video recently called What Mary Didn't Know, about the thought experiment that Mary never lived in a black and white world and she knew everything about colour, but she'd never seen colour. But when she opens the door and goes into the world and actually sees colour for the first time, does she actually learn anything new? That's the thought experiment. Because the only actual thing that she learns that is new is her own subjective experience of it. Yes. So the question is, does she actually learn anything new? Yes. I think she does.
Yes, of course. I wouldn't. I mean, there's no question there. Subjective experience changes it, but it's difficult for us INTPs, right, to acknowledge that fact that subjective experience is changing everything. That you can't model everything abstractly and learn everything there's to know about as a subject just for modeling.
Although, once we know more than one model, we know that the model isn't the truth. Once you become aware, like for instance, if you only experience one model, you're going to think, oh, wow, this is the truth. But if you know like socionics and Enneagram, because like they're both good, then you realize the limitations of each. Yeah. That like both have part of the answer, but not the whole answer. Yeah. So learning other models is good. If the other models are equally good, then you realize, oh, there are some limitations in these models. It helps you because you suddenly get another perspective on the same thing, and you're not locked in like some people who I call socionics bigots. You're like just like use socionics, nothing else.
Ivory Tower TIs.
Pardon? Yes.
Yeah. Because I mean, socionics is for model A from a TI perspective. It's like the mecca of models because it explains, and you don't have to look at anything. You just look at this this structure and TI way through it, and everything makes perfect sense. But
there is,
yeah.
Modern art.
Yeah, and there's more to it. It is even more complex, and but yeah.
Oh, Victor is always getting digs in about Model A. Like he'll say Model A TI plus, linear, unflexible. Model G TI minus, flexible, multiple angles. Always getting the digs in.
Yeah. I see always the argument from socionics, from this hardcore socionics people. Yeah, if you they advise MBTI people to learn about socionics because it is defined very well and everything is clear and cut. Yeah, but personality is not a phenomenon that should be described in a perfect system because personality is a very fluid phenomenon. And you won't catch everything that is going on that we perceive as humans as personality with a perfect system. The best I can do is to see that there are certain reoccurring themes and that certain modes are better to describe part of this phenomenon.
Yep.
And yeah.
That's Dario always mentions things like culture, upbringing, education. And he says that they're like at least like there's another one I can't remember that is, he says they're at least 50% of type. Oh yes, I think he said career. That's it, career. Because someone's career changes their brain. Do you remember that? There's a thing, a meme that's come out in the last few years that you need to do something for 10,000 hours to become an expert at it.
Yeah. What? Okay.
Now, in like an advanced field, like if someone's done something like for 10,000 hours, then
okay, so that's 1.5 years. Okay, about.
Well, I mean, unless someone's a hardcore worker, but yeah, I think it's 10,000 hours. Yeah. Right. So what we can do now is end this video, and then we can do another one.
Yes. Yes.
On the Kersey profile.
This will get too long.
Right. Here we go. Bye, bye, folks.
Bye, bye.
Bye, bye.